What the people that are targeting you do not understand is that truth is not necessarily something that you claim or hold on to. It's not really something that you own. And a lot of these people, because you're abiding in the truth and you have a light to you, they want to take that light from you and they think that it's something that they can own, but it's actually not. And the cool thing about being a targeted individual is that you at least know, even though it comes with the territory comes with a lot of different problems, okay? But on the bright side, you have the understanding that you're being targeted because of your strength. And they see your strength as a challenge to see whether or not they can actually take you on or not. Because the thing is about your strength and your fortitude of mind is that whether it's in the workplace or in your family or with friends or with romantic individuals that you're in a relationship with or whatnot, if you display a certain kind of strength, whether it's of walking away, of holding your ground, of not being disrespected, these people will now start to target you. And a lot of the times there will be smear campaigns against you. The narcissists out here will be absolutely livid if you're able to walk away, man. The narcissists and the Jezebels, they are all, whether you are completely just doing your own thing or not, like you don't even have to be the most successful individual for you to be a targeted individual. For you to be a target, you just need to be somebody that is abiding in the truth, living out the truth to the best of your ability, and living your own life, minding your own business. It seems like that seems to be the only criteria at this point of where people get the desire to target you. And especially if you're in the workplace, if you're a competent individual, you're going to be targeted for sure. I cannot tell you how many jobs I worked at in the past where, because I was a competent individual, that I did what I was asked, I minded the business that I was being paid for. I was doing everything that I needed to keep that job just where it was at and excel and grow in that position. I cannot tell you how many jobs that I've had where I was targeted because of that, especially with female bosses. Man, that was a trip. That was a trip and a half, because I actually at one point, one of the female bosses, she was technically my supervisor, and she had the supervisor, which was the CEO slash owner of the company. And one day she was coming in with a lot of just craziness and do this and do that and do this and do that. And we were all working like a hybrid at the time. We weren't necessarily full remote, but we weren't always in the office either. And I was happening to be in the office that day, and she came in like a tornado and just spun everybody around. And it was just a very chaotic mess. And man, I still never understood why she got that position. but anyway, she came in and she just was chaotic. And she told me to do that and do this. And I said, look, if you think that you can just come in here and tell me to do these things when I've already got stuff to do from the owner and the CEO, there's the door. And she said this, she's like, nobody's ever said that to me. A subordinate has never said that to me. This is why you've got to be very careful in the workplace, because these women that are above you in the hierarchy of the business, they think that they're better than you, even if they're not. And I have no quarrels with being working for a woman or with a woman that actually is competent and knows what she's doing. Like, what's that TV show, like Shark Tank or something? There's a couple of those women on there that are very intelligent and very smart. I would have no problem working for that kind of person. I don't think that women need to be CEOs and all that for everybody. And I don't think that it's necessary for women to be in that position. I think men are doing a better job in those kinds of positions. And I'm not saying that it's just the CEOs. I'm saying that men just lead better than women. That's a natural biological fact. And so a lot of the times when I've been in those kinds of situations because I've stood up for myself, because I had other things to do, well, guess what happened after that? I get called in and she gets this whole story mixed up, and she starts telling the boss certain things about me and what I've been doing on the job and how I'm not actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Meanwhile, she's the one trying to ask me to do all these different things. And when I say that, who does the owner believe? The woman. The woman. Because who am I, right? Who am I? This is just part of, and this is just a minor example of what will happen in the workplace, but you've got all other kinds of things that go on in the actual community, where if you're living in a community and you've got certain people watching you or stalking you, I've had men and women stalk me and gang stalk me. More so men than women, but a lot of women have stalked me as well. Not necessarily to the full degree where I would say that they are actually a stalker, but there was two in particular that come to mind within the last couple of years that I would say are absolutely stalkers. But the other ones were more just stalkerish. They were just kind of a little bit too comfortable trying to get information and watch, and they're all about status and power and such, and they just want you because they think that you have status and power. They think that because you have self-respect and you walk around like you're a respectable individual, then you're this high status whatever. And that's not really the case. Like, I don't consider myself that high status or anything like that. I consider myself simply a man that respects himself and wants to see more respect being propagated in the communities and in the society that we live. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think that a lot of the times people think that, well, if they're not making a certain amount of money, then they can just do whatever they want. They can go party, they can go drink, they can hook up, they can do this, they can do that, they can smoke, they can do whatever, because it's what the kids are doing. It's cool, right? It's cool. And the thing is there's a time and a place for certain things. For example, like psychedelics or marijuana, I think there's a time and place. I don't advocate for those kinds of things at all anymore. But the reason that I would say that there's a time and place, because I think that it actually is a medicine. I really do think that it's a medicine, and given the right circumstances and the right intentions, you're going to be getting a lot from it. But it's also depending on how you use it, okay? It's depending about your intentions. But I met somebody in Oregon a couple years ago, and this was by far the most spiritually aware person that I've ever met. To this day, even, apart from myself and maybe a few other people that I know, this was the most educated and very, very present man I've ever met. And he was in his 70s. And he was talking to me about this at the time, and he was asking me if I do any kinds of drugs or anything like that. And at the time, years ago, I was smoking marijuana because I was doing yoga afterward. And after I would do yoga, I would meditate, and then I would do it was always very spiritual whenever I did it. I did it for very spiritual intentions. I would try to get into a certain mindset and all that. And what was crazy is he told me, he said, well, I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me for a second. He asked me, he said, well, are you trying to get to heavenliness, or are you trying to stay on earth? And I said, well, I'm trying to get to heavenliness, I suppose. And he said, well, marijuana is a earthly substance, right? And I said, yeah. He He said, so why are you trying to use an earthly substance to get to heavenliness? Wow, okay. And that made sense to me at the time. So I decided to stop it. I decided to stop smoking marijuana, psychedelics, and all of that. I was never really a big drinker or anything like that anyway, but I would never do marijuana or anything like that for the sake of trying to just get high recreationally. That's not what I was doing. I don't even like saying that you get high doing that kind of stuff. But you know what was crazy is as soon as I stopped with marijuana, I had all of these spiritual attacks. I had a target on my back once more. It was like everybody in the community started to see that I was shifting, and I started getting these weird attacks. There was this guy at the coffee shop. I would go to a coffee shop every morning in those days as well, and just to get a little coffee in. And I'd do a little bit of work there for about an hour or so before going to my other job. And so when I was there at the coffee shop, there was usually, sometimes if you're a regular somewhere, you see certain people. And it was after this stopping marijuana and smoking marijuana that this guy, this really hedonistic type guy, he was in his 50s or so, and he's trying to talk to me and such, and I can see his spirit. Even then, when I didn't have the proper discernment all the way, like I was still fairly educated and spiritually discerning, but I didn't have the whole awareness and wherewithal. And so when I stopped, he was trying to tell me about all of the things that are good about marijuana and how he can get so many girls with marijuana. And I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know where he was coming from. I didn't know why he was talking to me. It literally was just like he just showed up one day and became a regular and just tried to be my friend. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And he just showed up. And I've been going to this coffee shop, mind you, for 2 or 3 years before that at the time. So I've never seen this guy. And all of a sudden, when I stopped smoking marijuana, it's like the devil sends this weirdo to come and try to get me to go back into sin. Well, over the next couple weeks, I start to just kind of shun him off, and I start to switch up my routine again. And I see him a couple weeks later after that, and he just starts to really pick at me for some reason. He's like, "What do you do? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Are you talking to me? You talking to me, man?" And he's asking me what my job is and how much I make, and I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what you're about." But this guy was in his 50s, okay? And this is what was crazy. And this is what's going to happen to you as a targeted individual. To other people, these people that are targeting you seem sane. And when you say, "Look, this is BS, this guy's a weirdo," all of a sudden they think you're the weirdo because you're calling it how it is. You're just calling a spade, and they can't handle it. So anyway, it was just immediately after that where I realized, okay, something's off, and I'm definitely on the right track, because if this is where this is going after stopping marijuana and such, then I'm probably doing something right. And so I never went back to it, really. I never went back to it. But even the coffee shop, I don't go to that coffee shop anymore. There was too many Jezebels later on, a year or two later, which was just a year or two ago now. But just the way that things occurred and the way that things happened, it's like you've got to move differently out here. And so I'm hoping that giving my personal life experience will demonstrate to you guys just these brief little examples here about how you need to just move differently as a person that is competent, that is trying to better yourself. You've got to understand that there are going to be things that are being sent your way to try to get you back into sin, to try to move you away from your purpose, and to move you away from that which is most good for you and your path that you're walking on with the Most High. So I thank Yeshua every day for meeting that man in some senses of the imagination, because if I didn't meet that man, and he apparently has been sober with everything. The only thing, like, he doesn't even drink caffeine or anything like that. And I'm almost to that point as well. You know, I'm not doing pre-workout anymore at this point. I'm not drinking coffee. Even tea that I drink at this point, it's herbal tea. It's herbal tea that I'm drinking, so it's no caffeine. And I felt so much more at ease in my nervous system, I suppose. I'm just so much more at ease. And the more calm I get within myself, the more I'm able to handle these kind of just weird occurrences. Because obviously these aren't the only things, like, these examples are not the only examples that I could give you. But I think for today's video, this is going to be what the Spirit wants me to talk about. So anyway, I hope this video resonated with somebody, or gave them at least some kind of understanding of how to move better and how to move more properly in the world. Because obviously everybody desires to live a better life, but nobody actually wants to live that better life. And then when you do, you're going to have all these weirdos coming out of the woodworks, and you've got to just be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, as Yeshua says, right? So you got to move carefully and recognize what's happening, and don't think too much about it. Don't try to get in your mind about it, because that's exactly what the devil wants. The devil wants you to be confused and wondering why certain things are happening. When I was at that job, the first example that I gave you guys, when I was at that job, I was so confused because none of what this woman was had told I guess it's my boss's boss, none of what she told him was actually true. She used certain things that I said to make it sound worse than it actually was. So, because it wasn't even bad. I was standing up for myself and I was doing my job. Like, that's the crazy thing. I was literally just a guy doing my job. She thinks she can come in and just tell me what to do because she's a certain position, even though she technically doesn't have that kind of power in the hierarchy above me in the business. This is another reason why I don't like business hierarchies. I don't do business hierarchies anymore. I just don't see a need for it. I don't think that it's applicable or useful for anybody. I think certain people have certain sets of skills, other people have certain sets of skills, and you're going to get paid based off of the value that you're able to provide for that. That's how it should be as far as I'm concerned. But you got a lot of people that think that being in a certain management position means that you got to sit back and relax and all that. And that's what a lot of women think. They like this woman. She thought that getting into a certain managerial position, that she could just come in whenever she wanted, tell people what to do, and leave. Are you kidding me? This is crazy. It's so crazy. And then she can pretend that she's doing all of this work because now she has to organize it. And don't get me wrong, organization is a real thing. But it's just so crazy, these people. These people will do anything to avoid responsibility sometimes. And I've just seen more women take advantage of managerial positions in the workplace than men. And I've always enjoyed working under men more in the workplace anyway, because they're more reasonable and logical for the most part, and they don't take things as personally. With women, you have to approach it a certain way, and if you just are super direct, the only kinds of women you can be certain direct with are women that are actually direct themselves. Because a lot of the times, the women that want you to be direct but don't want to be direct will be the ones to really try to switch you up in the workplace, and that's why you'll be a targeted individual. You'll also be a targeted individual in the workplace with women as a man, specifically, if you're not trying to make moves on anybody. Oh my gosh. Talk about crazy, but that's another time. That's another video. I hope this video was insightful for you guys. and gave you some insights, and hopefully it was educational in some form as well. Now, I do want to just say that if you want to join the Regal Change Academy, whether the free Discord, you can check out the link in the description box below. You can also check out the link to the paid community in the link in the description box below, where we have weekly Bible studies, group calls, and then there's a whole bunch of resources in there that you don't get in the free Discord, but we still have a lot of free Discord opportunities there and sheets available for you guys. But the paid community really is hopping right now. This is where it's at. And we've got a really good, solid group of people in there. And I'm looking forward to just building that and getting that more solid group and growing that exponentially in the future. I also want to thank everybody that's been moving from the YouTube platform over to the X and the Rumble platform. I give a shout out to you guys, and I appreciate all of that you guys support me in. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Till next time.